All right, so first of all, I just want to welcome everybody here, all the people that are attending and showing up right now. This is a very important Q&A session geared towards condo residents, building managers, officials. We have the right people on this call for us. So first of all, I want to thank our town manager, Hector Gomez, our building official, Jim McGinnis, and our town planner, Judith Frankel, for taking the time out to do this. It's a very important Zoom for our residents. I know it's getting late, so it really means a lot that you are here after hours, still here for our residents. So thank you very much. This is going to be, there'll be a little bit of an intro for myself, the manager, and the panelists, and then we're going to open it up to questions, because that's really what we're here to do, is to answer your questions and concerns. What I'm going to ask is, right now everybody is muted. If you would like to ask a question to the panel, please just raise your hand and I'll bring you up. Just try to keep it brief. They'll get to the response. We'll move on and try to get everybody before we come back around. I'm just going to ask again, if there's personal questions, if it's item specific, such as where's my permit holding, let's try to keep those questions offline. I'll refer you again back to the manager or to the building official. We'll get those emails addresses out there for you to contact them directly. They don't have the information handy. That's not what tonight's about. So again, thank you for being here. I know Mr. McGinnis, our building official, is going to be here to answer some questions on new building code, new construction, some requirements, and there were a lot of good questions I heard when I was going around to the buildings yesterday. So please, I hope they come forward. Our town planner is here primarily, again, to answer any questions you may have on some of the new development projects here. As new projects are getting approved, there's a lot of misinformation, I think, going around the town about 18 stories, 12 stories. So I know our planner will be very happy to answer about what's allowed, what's coming up, dispel some of the misinformation, talk about some of the live local. There's a lot of questions about that, especially with the new project coming forward. Also some of the resiliency efforts that are going on here in town, specifically on Collins Avenue, that affect the condos. One of the big topics of conversation tonight I'm anticipating is probably the new construction project that was just approved by Planning and Zoning on 93rd to 94th over here on Collins. I know this town has been waiting many years we've been patient. That block has been closed off for a while, and the developer has purchased it and has brought plans forward. So again, any questions are welcome here if you guys want to know about that. Again, tying in with that, what is the town doing to mitigate some of the effects of construction? We've had some major issues going on recently down 91st Street. We've been dealing with a lot of residents there. But, with more projects comes traffic, comes nighttime construction work. What's allowed, what's not allowed, the lanes, how many lanes can be opened and closed, what we have control over, what we don't. So, I'll open that up to our town manager when we get to it. Safety, that was one of the topics I'd love to discuss. After, the collapse of the Champlain Towers, safety is obviously paramount on everybody's mind. And that was really something that we ran on, was condo safety and responsible development. So, there's a lot of new things that have been required from the contractors and construction. And again, we're happy to touch on some of those. But it also includes some of the smaller safety initiatives you've been seeing happening, behind your buildings, which include some of the ADA mats. And, I applaud the residents for bringing that forward and turning that into a real item to tackle. And again, thank you to the manager and the town staff who got that out there. Those ADA mats allow some of our, senior residents or residents with disability to access the beaches easier. This is a small project, in the big scope of things, but it really makes a difference in the quality of life for our residents. So we appreciate that it took priority. So thank you, Mr. Manager, for getting that done. Beach lighting, again, one of the big priorities of the commission. We lived here for years. I think it was during COVID, walking up and down the beach in pitch black. I couldn't wait to get to Bell Harbor till I could see something and not trip. So, of course, we have to take into account turtles, Dade County Code, but we have now the manager will confirm if we're complete or not, but we should be almost completing the lighting projects on the beach. Those are solar powered, turtle friendly, and bollards along the path that light the way. The idea was, of course, to light all the paths, but because we have a major dune resiliency project, we're going to be redoing the bigger path. We stuck now to that the lower path, and God willing, in the future, we'll be able to address that on the other side. The other thing is the beach. We hired a CSA, a community service aide, to patrol our beach. We have a lot of laws, a lot of different legislation, a lot of codes. dogs on the beach, dogs off the beach, people speeding on the bike path. We can make as many laws as we want, but if we don't have the people to enforce them, it doesn't help. So we're proud that we have now onboarded CSA who is dedicated to the beach to enforce our laws to make sure that we have a safer and more pleasant experience when we're on the beach. So with that, again, I'm gonna I guess just one last thing, the condo protection. We spoke about how to protect your investment. Some of the topics we can talk about again are some of the new transparency laws which have gone into effect, and I'm sure our building officials speak more into that. What your rights are as tenants, what you could demand. If you're looking to purchase a condo, what you should be looking for. That would be very interesting to cover. The fact that your buildings are if you're about to have a construction project next to you, you're entitled to a free assessment from the developer if you partake in that. So your building can take advantage of some of the new legislation for your benefit to make sure that you are living in a safer place. So with that, I'll hand it off to the manager to open up and we'll go around.
Mayor, thank you very much. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I add a quick little brief to it, and I'll have the panelists, our officials, say a little intro, and then we'll hand it back off to you. I'll have Judith go first, and after Jim, and I'll have Jim hand it back to you. But thank you very much. Town of Surfside, as you know, we are a heavy residential area, but we are as a condo area. And there's a lot of initiatives and incentives and just information that we're trying to put out there for our condo residents. And I think this, as one of the series of informational channels, is a really important one. So I really want to thank you for gearing this one specifically for the condo residents, as I feel that there is specialized information that comes from condos, as they have a specific set of needs compared to a residential area. So again, I want to thank you for having opened this forum up and creating this series specific for condos, questions and A's. And I really hope this becomes a really productive one. There's going to be a lot of information, and we will do our best to provide you as much information as possible. If for whatever reason our panelists, our officials are not able to provide you something immediately, I'll make sure that we follow up with some strong information. So with that said, I'll hand it off to Judith, our town planner.
Hi, I'm Judith Rangel. I'm the town planner. I've been with the town of Surfside for about a year. I also live in the town. I do a couple functions for the town. I do a zoning review. What I tell people is, if you don't know whether your project needs a zoning review, ask yourself, is it inside or outside? If it's happening outside, it's pretty likely that you need a zoning review as part of the project. I often meet with people, with homeowners, with condo managers who are thinking of undertaking a project to go over what's required, whether their project will be able to comply with zoning code. I'm happy to meet with anybody if you're considering a project moving forward at your condominium. The other main task that I do is I work with the planning and zoning board. So when big developments come in, I work with our consultant team, Marlin Engineering, to present those, to do a full review and present those to the planning and zoning board, and then the town commission. So I'm here if you have any questions about that process, what things require planning and zoning board review versus what we can, review in-house. I'm happy to answer those as well. And I work very closely with Mr. McGinnis.
Thank you, Judith, for the handoff. Jim McGinnis, your building official. And I'm not only a building official, I'm also your neighbor. I live in a condominium on Collins Avenue, just a few hundred feet from ground zero. I was very nearly the 99th victim of the tragedy. I was on that building only 12 hours before it fell down. And I've lived it. And my objective has been to be the light in the darkness for each of you who live in a multifamily building here in Surfside, and making sure that never, ever happens again. And we started by taking a big step back, and what is wrong with the system that actually allowed that to occur. And when we look back at it, and I was here just for a few weeks before it happened, a total building official's worst possible nightmare. And we discovered that the buildings fell at their 39th year. That building fell at 39 years of age. So 40 years is obviously too late to go to the doctor for the first time. So we started a campaign. And that campaign had the slogan, "Don't wait, accelerate." And in Spanish, it's also worked. It's very important to get a hook. No espere, accelerate. And that was really effective at bringing up this mission, which started right here in Surfside, right here in our actually, offices were rebuilt since then, to accelerate the recertification period from 40 to 30. And it worked. And it went up through the Building Officials Association. It went up through the Miami. And then I guess my camera doesn't like me because this video keeps going off. I need to take down the glare on it, I guess. So anyway, so now it's state law, it's Miami-Dade law. It's been accelerated from 40 to 30 and will soon be 25 years. So I'm here to make sure that you are safe in your buildings. Life safety in buildings is my mission. You know, I live here with you, and I'm here to do that. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. There are no dumb questions out there at all. Please feel free, because we are here to help you be safe and live happily ever after in your building. So that's a general overview, and we're ready to accept any questions regarding the recertification procedures, permitting, other types of questions you might have.
All right. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it, guys. Really, thanks again for doing this. You know, if you guys have questions, start raising your hands. I'll get to you in the order that they have gone up. Just a quick thing before we start. I know we fielded a couple of calls over the week about pools and hot tubs being shut down. That was, I believe, by the County Department of Health. That wasn't the town of Surfside going around, but I can tell you that we're to help you. We're here to help you navigate through that. Jim is always available. You know, if there's something that they're requiring, we're here to help you through that. I know our manager has, you know, knows some people within that department. So if there's anything that we can help you go through so you can provide these services for your residents, please feel free to reach out. They're here.
And I'd like to jump in and segue on that, Mr. Mayor. That actually happened to my pool as well, on my condo on Collins Avenue. So I share your pain. As many of you know, I'm an avid swimmer, and at the big community center, and a lot of times I cool off in our own pool there, and that would really what happened is someone from the state made a sweep. State of Florida helped made a sweep, and they got some pools, and mine's already been cured. And if you need guidance, reach out to me, because I can put you with the people that can give the solutions to whatever you were cited for and whatever you were shut down for. So once again, I know that from a personal level as well.
Yes.
Thanks, Jim. All right, so we're going to open up Neil Oberman. Let's see. All right, so.
Yes, hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Mayor. So I live on Collins in a condo that is known as Champlain Towers North formerly, but now it's another name, which is better off for all of us. There is a disproportionate amount of noise on Collins. I know it's a major thoroughfare, but there are often cars that obviously don't have any mufflers, or they're sports cars. What provisions can the city take to set up some sort of monitoring for excessive noise from cars in order to maybe, as a speeding ticket with a camera? Is there anything that exists? Because I don't know if you've been on Collins sometime in the evening, but these sports cars are constantly coming down and revving their engines to a disproportionate sound level. And it's really, in my view, really quite problematic. Is there anything you can tell us about how to maybe the city can mitigate that, or fine people, or set something up to avoid that?
All right, thank you, Neil. First of all, yes, I live right off of Harding. I hear the same, you know, guys revving their engines coming down. I think I wish our police chief was on this call. I didn't expect these kind of questions. He probably could have better answered that. So without, you know, trying to answer something I don't know, I'll turn it to our manager and throw it to him.
Here, thank you very much. This definitely sounds more on the enforcement side. I'll have a conversation with our police chief. It may just be enforcing the speed limit at night. Once you have the body out there enforcing speed limit, we can enforce certain noise criterias. There is a Florida statute that allows us to do that, but obviously it needs to be caught by a police officer, witnessed by a police officer. So I don't think there's any technologies that will allow us to record and proactively pursue. I think it's just having the additional body out there and enforcing the speed limit at night. So I'll go ahead and have a conversation with our police chief to this matter.
Mr. Manager, if I could add something. Neil, I share your pain. My bedroom's on Collins, and I hear it as well. And what happens is there's a 2-block stretch there. Once that light turns green at 88th, man, do they hit it. They hit it real hard right in front of our condominiums. And what's worked in the past, and we might suggest in the future to the police chief, is to actually put a car with lights on right there as you enter that block, where the East building was. Now it's called Oceans East, and put a police car right there. That's worked in the past, and we might want to revive that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, the issue I think we face is that Collins is a thoroughfare, and people coming up. By the time the police respond, I have similar calls. I know at the beach, somebody will be with the dog without a leash, or on the bike, with the bike on the walking path. But by the time we get enforcement out there, they're already long gone. So I think that's one of the issues. I know our manager will speak with the chief about that. Thank you, Neil. Suzette Holt, let me see. All right.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
It's an honor being here, and to you, Mayor, and the panelists. I'm new to Surfside. I just moved here in March. I too live on Collins Avenue. I am directly across from the Four Seasons, and I'm right next door to their parking garage. So I too want to ask a question about if there's any noise ordinance, their generator. I'm trying to get, because it's kind of overbearing. I don't know if you can hear it even now. It's extremely loud. When I first moved in here, it would go up from sun up to sundown, and then sundown it's clear. But as of lately, it's been going 24 hours nonstop. Can't get any sleep. So I really wasn't sure. I went online today to figure out how can I file a complaint. And then I saw your Zoom call and figured I asked you directly, what should I do to get this resolved? Thank you.
No, thank you, Suzette. So this is in regards to just for clarification, this is the generators on 91st Street.
Yes, sir.
So unfortunately, we've had quite a bit of complaints, and understandably so. Again, as somebody who lives around the corner, I'm with you. Suffering from that. I think, and I'll let the manager get into more details, but I think, from what I understand, their AC system had to be replaced, which is why they started taking down 91st Street. The AC that feeds the Four Seasons and the future buildings that are going up feeds off the top of the roof of that garage. The system went down, and unfortunately, AC being more or less a life-sustaining function, they had to provide and put, a temporary solution there, which went way longer than I think it was supposed to.
Yeah.
I've been told that it's Wednesday. It's going to be Wednesday morning is the last day it's supposed to be on. We had major issues with them last night in particular. I don't know what changed, but I know our town manager spoke with them and they assured us they'll run it at half capacity. But I know after this meeting, actually, our manager is going down there to meet with them right in front of it to see what's going on. So, it's a quality of life issue. Unfortunately, with the town being under construction, it feels like it's been that way since the day I moved here, like almost 15 years ago. But something that we are pursuing to try to ensure that, the quality of life of the residents that still exist here and live here don't get ruined on things like that. And I'll let the manager touch on that because I know there's other aspects as far as nighttime work. I know he's trying to change some of the things here in town to alleviate some of the ramifications that these projects are having on us. So Hector, if you don't mind, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's that. I'll give you some background on this real quick, and I'll give you like the really abridged version, and you could reach out to me and I can give you the more expanded version. But long story short, there was a tropical storm and it took out the Four Seasons, the surf club's entire AC system. They were already running on a partial system due to a transition they're doing, and that storm created the icing on the cake and it took their system down. So that resulted in them having to bring out these big temporary chillers, which is pretty much a temporary AC system. And that's what's powering that entire facility right now. So what's happened is the system is operating off that, and they're supposed to be back online tomorrow. So the silver lining out of this is that tonight's the last night. What I did ask him today is mitigate it by running at a lower capacity. We understand that it's a life and safety air quality issue that you have to have an AC system, but give a little bit, understanding that you may not need to be as cool as possible to try and mitigate the sound. The more of a load, the more people have their ACs running on a building, the more that chiller is going to be running hard and hard. And it seems like the last few nights, especially with the heat that we unfortunately have in December, the system is running hard and it's making that much more noise. It's unfortunate because the air conditioner system for the Four Seasons is located in that parking garage. So one of the things that we walked through is, can you put it closer to your property? And the truth is, it has to be as close as possible to the existing system so that you could run the bypass pipes so you could operate it. So that's why it's in its current location. They already had 91st Street closed because they're doing some more permanent work there. So we were able to incorporate it within that 91st Street, installing those systems there. And that's what they've been operating. It's been a nuisance. It's uncomfortable. I've fielded so many calls just to try and mitigate, putting in touch the right people so that what can you do to make this person's experience just a little bit more better, especially during the nighttime. This isn't a trade-off between anyone. It's just simply, we're just trying to make sure a building has a proper life safety function. Now we just really need to mitigate the noise. So again, tonight's the last night. That's the good news. The bad news is it's been going on, and I do acknowledge it's been going on for some time. And I'm sorry that it's impacted the nighttime quality, because I know it has. I'll be over there tonight because they're supposed to install, well, actually, they're supposed to run the system at half capacity. So that should relieve the noise a little bit tonight. And I'm hoping that will get us through the night. Tomorrow, I'll have a follow-up meeting with them in the morning to make sure they commission everything properly. And I just wanted to give you the background of why it's happening. Very similar to if you have a hurricane in the residential area and you lose power and people start running their generators. That's the kind of logic of why we allowed them to do that. So again, we apologize for that inconvenience that I know is firsthand. I know I could feel it. I know, Suzette, and I apologize.
Thank you, Hector. Robert Rappaport. I think you have to unmute yourself. Sorry, Robert. Robert. All right, I'll come back to you if you can figure that out. You gotta unmute yourself when we do it. Kim Allard.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you. I'd like to know what are the plans in terms of numbers of floors for buildings on Collins and also on the other side of Collins or Arding, whatever.
Can you just clarify a little? What do you mean the building of floors?
I'm sorry?
What do you mean? Like if there's any future plan to increase it?
Correct. On both sides of the street.
Okay. So again, I think we'll turn it to Judith to clarify, but as far as the commission's concerned and legislatively, I mean, we're all residents. Nobody's looking to raise anything. I believe it's 40 feet on the west side of Collins and 120 feet on the right side. That is going to be staying the same as far as we're concerned. Nobody's looking to add density and add height to our town. We all enjoy what it is today. Additionally, you have to understand that in order to change the height of Collins Avenue, it would have to go for a referendum, which means that, first of all, the commission would have to have the majority that want to vote to change it. It would have to go into a referendum to the residents, and the residents would have to vote on that as well. Again, I think it's safe to say that nobody wants to see that happen. But with that being said, Tallahassee tried to change because remember, Florida is trying to, we've seen an increase in people moving down here. They're trying to increase density in different areas. So what they did is they passed legislation that no city can lock their height and density in their charter. But what they didn't do is give anyone the permission to change it. So right now we're kind of in limbo. Commission can't change it. We can't go to referendum because Tallahassee said we can't go to referendum, and we couldn't change it even if we wanted to because our code requires us to go to referendum. So again, I think we're in limbo, but at the end of the day, there's no plans coming forward to raise that. In regards to mixed use or live local, we worked very hard to ensure that the only area we had susceptible to live local in town was our shopping district between 96th and 94th on Harding Avenue. We put some legislation forward to protect it, to ensure it basically doesn't pencil out for a developer to try to go higher. We can't stop them, but what we've done is we changed, the lot sizes or put specific lot sizes, and if they do want to go up to do some sort of project, they would be subject to the H120 setbacks, would essentially give them a 10-foot wide building. So it's become, unattainable to go up higher in that area. As far as the rest of the town, nobody's looking to rezone because that would put us susceptible to a live local, which would mean a building on the west side can go up as high as 120 feet if they were to create 65% residential, and 40% of that would have to be live local. And again, speaking with the developers here, oceanfront property, it really doesn't pencil out. This legislation of local was for other areas of Miami, which we're trying to stay low. But again, I'll turn it over to Judith just so you can hear it from our planner herself. But as a resident, as a legislator here, nobody is looking to go higher.
Thank you for that.
So just to quickly summarize what the mayor said, just for everybody who's not familiar with the zoning code. Generally, on the east side of Collins Avenue, those condos are capped at 120 feet and 12 stories. And then on the west side of Collins Avenue is the H40, and that's capped at 40 feet and 3 floors. Those 3 floors don't include what we call an understory or an underground parking garage. I hope that's the current requirements. I don't know if you want me to share the zoning map. I don't know if that's helpful to people, but it's on the town's website. But if you have specific questions, if you're about a specific development, I can answer those too.
And I think there's a lot of information that gets out, especially before an election season, because that's like the biggest thing people are scared of, right? We're going to turn into Sunny Isles, we're going to turn into Miami Beach. Thankfully, most of us all live in town as elected officials. Like I said, I live right off of Harding. I would hate to have a building go up and block my sunlight and block my air. My wife would kill me if I try to raise the stories. None of us want to see that happen here. So I can assure you, we are locked in at 120 feet, which is 12 stories on the beach, and 40 feet and 3 stories on the west side of Collins Avenue. Mario, let me unmute you. Mario.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you? Hold on. Here's Mario.
All right.
Mayor, thank you for taking the call. In Harding Avenue, if there can be improvement in the lighting system, because there's a number of trees on the Harding Avenue that are out, and the white lights and the blue lights, if they're just going to improve the quality in compared to Bell Harbor.
All right, thank you, Doctor. I'll turn that over to our manager. Lighting has been an issue in town. I know that we've had a couple of lights out on Collins Avenue up towards 96th to 94th over there. I can tell you, Hector's been reaching out. Our public works director has been reaching out to FPL. We've even gone through the county to try to expedite that. It's an issue. I guess I'll take it because Hector's leaving his chair. But oh no, he's back. All right, I'll turn it over to you. But yes, lighting is important. What I can say is I would encourage residents to create tickets on FPL as well. I mean, they don't work for us. They don't respond necessarily directly to us. We do have somebody we communicate with, and we try to push these projects. But any input from the residents would help that as well. Expedite these.
I wonder if the caller's comment was about the lights around the trees, like the
holiday trees.
The palms. Yeah.
Can we clarify that, Mayor? I thought it was, Mario, are you still there?
He should still be able to talk. Doctor, are you there?
Well, I can answer both questions, and hopefully.
I can't hear.
Mario, you copy?
Mario, you gotta. Yeah, there you go. All right.
If it's specific to holiday lights, I think it would be a good initiative to add them to the existing street posts throughout. I think that's something I've seen in Bay Harbor Islands as well as Ball Harbor. If it's specific to the photometrics of the existing lights and how much light they cast on Harding Avenue, something very different compared to Ball Harbor that we have is that we have buildings in between Collins and Harding, where in Ball Harbor, Collins and Harding kind of merged together. So you really don't get the benefit of lighting from both sides of the streets fully. Obviously, the utilities undergrounding project will review photometrics to see what we could do there to better enhance the lighting on Harding Avenue. But I do agree that it's not the best lighting, especially for a state road. Perhaps we could reach out to DOT as well, see if there's any way within their state road system they can incorporate the additional lighting. But that involves Miami-Dade County coordination. So allow me to follow up on that conversation further. Mario, if you want to reach out to me directly, my contact info is on the website. So please reach out and we can have a conversation more to what the intent of your question was.
All right, thanks. Again, one of the safety initiatives from the commission we came in was to improve the lighting, both in the residential, Harding, Collins. The way it's set up now is really just for drivers. So if you're going 30 miles an hour, you're kind of hitting each light path. But if you're walking, which a lot of people do, it's a very dark town. Unfortunately or fortunately, we have a very big undergrounding project coming forward, or that we're in the middle of working on. And that would require us to tear out the lighting. So rather than go ahead and redo all the lighting and then tear it out when it's time to go underground, we kind of merged it as one project. Hopefully it'll come forward shortly. Steve Wilkins. Steve, are you on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know who I should speak to about this. I've spoken to the town manager a couple of years ago about it, and I don't want to get negative on the call, but maybe I could ask someone to give me a buzz about the lot next to the police station. It's the town land, and it just seems to be a cumbersome of debris from the town. And I understand they have to have, you know, the big boxes there, but there just seems to be pipe from 2 years ago's projects, and it just seems like it should be cleaned up. Can I leave my phone number and have someone give me a buzz? I called yesterday and today and didn't get a response back.
Do you feel comfortable leaving your number, like saying your number, or you want to reach out to them
Sure,
directly?
617-669-2614. And I live at 9248 Collins, and that's our view, and it really is not a very neighborly view to look at. I don't think anyone in town would want to look at it.
Well, look, I appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, space is limited here and we're working with what we have, but I think you're right. You know, it would definitely be nicer. I wouldn't want to be looking at that myself. So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Steve, I'll reach out to you tomorrow. I think what you're referring to is, as a lot, it's the public works yard. So public works is.
I think it's, unless the zoning got changed, it was a residential spot and a beautiful piece of grass when I bought here, and it's not anymore. So.
No, I understand, Steve. We're limited in space, but let's talk, because I'm more than happy to see what new ideas we can come up with. But it's currently being used as a public works lot. That's all I'm saying. It's currently being used as a public works lot. So in nature, that's not the most attractive use of the spot. I would agree.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Steve. Robert Betchley.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay.
Major, how are you? It's Maria. This is my husband.
Oh, nice to meet you.
I'm sorry we're echoing because we have too many things.
I'm sorry.
Okay, is that better?
Sometimes it's okay.
We
You guys still there? I think they muted both of them. Hello? All right, I'm gonna, I guess we'll move on. Just if you want to raise your hand, figure it out, and we'll come back to you. Sorry about that. My friend, Mr. Christmas. How are you, Arnold?
I'm fine. How you doing, Mr. Mayor? You hear me?
How many? Yeah, we hear you. How many jokes have you heard this month so far?
Oh, I got too many. I can't tell you them all, and it wouldn't be appropriate. Listen, on the construction across from 9156 Collins, it appears that construction, with all the vibrations and dirt coming from there, it put cracks in our building, and we're constantly trying to clean up in the apartments from the dust. Is there any way we can address that and get any reimbursement for the building for the damage that has been caused?
Yes, I'll be glad to take that, Mr. Manager.
Right.
Yeah, I believe you're right across the street, probably from the Hillcrest, possibly there. And
Right.
Hillcrest and
I can advise the project manager to keep more moisture to wet down the surface so that there's not so much dust generated when trucks and all that heavy equipment out there, they're doing deep soil mixing right now for the underground parking garage. And what I'm suggesting is that can you still hear me, Arnold?
Oh, sorry, I'm muted because we were talking, but yeah.
Okay. In any case, so Arnold, what I can do is suggest that the project manager wet down the job site more often, especially when dry periods when there's no rain.
Mayor, maybe it's a good idea to put them in contact directly with a person they have, and perhaps there's some special assistance they can provide directly by speaking directly with that development team. I know that they're able to accommodate the situations with car washes and balcony cleaning. Mr. Arnold, would that be good? Do you have their point of contact? I could provide it to you offline.
So I have a point of contact for him. If you want, I can put you guys in touch, because I know even as far as, if the building's getting dirty, Mr. Christmas, you're on. I'll say something.
Yes, I was saying that, the vibrations has caused damage to the building also. And I think that should be addressed by the contractors across the street.
Do we know, did they set up, well, there's a vibration monitoring across the street. If I'm not mistaken, I was just down there the other day. I saw one.
I saw one,
So,
I think on the next building up, they have one. But
Yeah.
prior to the monitor being installed, we had a lot of vibration from the first building that went up across the street. And now they're working on the second footings. So, and that is also causing vibrations, which also can cause cracks in our building.
Okay, so maybe what I like to do, especially now, those buildings were approved and started way before I was here, but what I like to do now with the new project since I've been in office is sit down with the neighboring buildings next door to the project and the developers. So maybe I can set up some sort of dialogue between your building and them, and we can try to come to a resolution on that. Definitely the city has certain requirements and our codes have certain requirements, so we'll make sure it's clean, we'll make sure it's safe, and those issues get addressed. All right.
Well, you can contact our managing company, Gagliano or Galliano, or the president and vice president of the Condo Association.
Okay. We'll reach out and I'll try to set something up. All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks. It's nice to hear from you again.
Nice seeing you.
Okay, so we have iPhone with the phone numbers ending 8947. Okay, so if you're on the iPhone, you have to unmute yourself. I'm not really sure how.
Okay. Okay,
you
can
go.
you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is Najla Hage, and you had mentioned the CSA patrolling the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they'll be patrolling, you said the dogs, and I think now they're not allowed to smoke on the beach, correct?
I don't know if there was anything passed on that specifically. I think that's Miami Beach.
But that doesn't apply to Surfside?
Two different cities.
Oh, I thought it's like Dade County. It's not
Well,
the county
there's
thing?
Dade County. Well, there's Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County, two different. I'd have to check if there's a
Right.
county one. I'm not aware of that.
Local
Yeah.
enforcement on the
The
beach.
What about the noise from private people that are doing parties on the beach and they have their radios blasting out? Is there an ordinance for that?
Mayor, sorry.
Yes.
I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm not, again, I wish we had maybe our code person could answer better that. People are entitled to some sort of level of noise between certain hours. I'm sure there's some sort of decibel system for that as well, especially if they're using loudspeakers. We'll have to look into that. I'll defer to staff on that specifically. In regards to the CSA, yes, the CSA's job, we have two of them that were hired for the downtown area to maintain a 7-day-a-week cycle to ensure, double parking and try to keep our streets moving and our downtown safe. And simultaneously, we have somebody specifically designated for the beaches to ensure, yes, that our ordinances are followed. So
Okay,
with that,
is there, sorry, I was gonna ask, is there a number that we can call if we find out that somebody's violating something, or, to tell them to come and talk to the people or whatever? Is there a number we could call if we notice something that's not right?
I could provide this number, Mayor. We do have a non-emergency number that dispatches calls to different departments as needed. Do you know it off the top of your head by any chance?
Dispatch, yeah. So the non-emergency number, and again, I was going to confirm that they do work under the police department. The non-emergency number for Surfside, let me give you that.
Okay.
Is 305
305
861
861
4862.
4862. Okay,
That's the
305
dispatch.
861 4862, and that's non-emergency.
That's the non-emergency. I mean, it could be used for emergency too. This is when you dial 911, it goes through the county and then it gets dispatched to Surfside PD. If you ever need to reach our dispatcher, even, I mean, that's my emergency go-to number because I know I'm reaching the dispatcher directly. So if you see something, he'll dispatch the appropriate parties out. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Jack Hittery.
Hi, how are you? Oh,
Good. How are you?
picture came
Thanks
up.
for joining.
Okay, hi. This is Esther, Jack's wife. He's next to me. First, I'd like to say thank you very much to the panel and for all that you do, Mayor, and for addressing what was just discussed, the beach rules and enforcing them, hopefully. Okay. I have two issues. One of them is very simple. I'm wondering, do we have freebie, the transportation like they have in Bal Harbor? Because I was trying
Yes. I don't know if did they start yet? I know we just went ahead and included that. Mr. Manager, did the freebie service start yet?
We are bringing that contract to the December commission next week. Once the commission approves, we'll be able to start that service in the beginning of the new year. So everything is gearing up to have a freebie service by
Fabulous.
February.
That's fabulous. Okay, so I guess we'll find out when that is in effect. My next issue is, what can we do about loitering? I live on 95th Street, towards the entrance towards the beach. And Saturday, this particular Saturday, but it isn't only this last week, there was a couple on the bench for more than 2 hours, showering, sitting. It was actually gross. I don't want to be graphic, but he used soap, and it looked like a man and a woman. I don't know if it was husband and wife, whatever. And it was really very unsettling. And how do we limit people from sitting on those benches and showering for long periods of time? What do we do?
So it's a difficult situation because we first, we try to address some of the issues here. We've seen some of the vagrancy spilling over from Miami Beach. We actually have legislation coming forward on this agenda. I believe it's a first reading, if I'm not mistaken, which would address encampments and things within town. But as far as loitering, it gets difficult. And I know I brought it up to our attorneys quite a while ago, because we have issues in town, in the downtown district. But if I put a loitering law, that would apply to the people on the beach too. If somebody sits at the beach for too long, it would fall under that. So it's very difficult to do something specific that doesn't target a specific group and put us in harm's way for, liability and things like that, as far as lawsuits, different organizations that would come out and start defending different kinds of people if they felt we were targeting them. So how do you go ahead and put a loitering law and tell people they can only stay at the beach or on a shower for a half hour when that can affect regular beachgoers? So it's a very difficult thing to navigate. I'm hoping that the legislation that we bring forward, hopefully this month and next month would be the final reading if it passes, and that should alleviate some of the issues that we've been seeing around town. Some of the spillover that has come over from Miami Beach since they enacted their own legislation. So I hope that addresses that. One of the things I know since we've been talking about the beaches was e-bikes. I have some residents that have come up to me quite a few times about that. The speeding bicycles, it's becoming an issue. People feel unsafe. I could say it's just, again, it's something very difficult to address without cooperation from the neighboring municipalities, because it's, you know, if somebody's coming through on an e-bike, it's a thoroughfare. He's in town for all of 5 minutes before he's gone to the next town. So how do we go ahead and address that without cooperation from Miami Beach, from Bell Harbor? If people are coming from other beaches, you know, it would be very difficult to enforce or even get a law across that. It's something is perfectly legal on 87th Street, but as soon as they cross the beach to 88th Street, it's illegal now. So that is something I'm trying to work with our neighboring municipalities to come up with something ubiquitous from, you know, South Beach all the way up. But it takes, you know, some coordination with some of the other cities. So that I'm just getting ahead of that thing, that topic, which I'm sure will come up tonight, and it definitely has come up from a lot of residents. But thank you. Let's see, we have Leah's phone. I've just unmuted you, sorry.
Yes, hi, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for this opportunity to ask you a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I would like to find out on Collins Avenue, the Palace, next to the Marbella, what is the status? What is the situation? When are they going to start building? What is the status as of now?
That's a good question. As far as the commission, I mean, we review the plans that are submitted to us, we approve. We're not really involved in the day-to-day and, you know, the communication with the developers as they move forward with their plans. That falls to management. So I'm going to turn that over to Hector, maybe Judith. Jim knows something on that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jim, do you mind if you take this one on, since I know they've been talking to you recently?
Yeah, thank you, Leah. Yeah, the buildings have been declared as unsafe, and they're been all posted and red tagged. The structures are no longer able to be occupied, and they're set to be demolished. A brand new, beautiful condominium is set to replace those buildings called 93 Ocean. Those plans are public record. They're available for you to view. It's a beautiful new building. It's just a matter of time, a very, very short amount of time before both of those structures that were formerly known as the Regent Palace, which are unoccupied and condemned, come down. So they will be replaced by a beautiful new building.
All right, so I think some of the question was also like, you know, it was proved quite a little while ago. I believe construction was originally, demolition was supposed to start in August, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, we haven't seen movement, and, you know, the last thing we'd want to see is another lot sitting here for 9 years vacant, you know, with a fence. Is there any update to that? I think that we can share with some of the residents here.
I'll provide a little. Jim, go for it.
There's a little bit of delay over an ownership issue.
Explain that. Yes, the squatter.
Condominium owner was holding out for the highest dollar, and there's a delay of ownership, and she didn't want to sell. So that's what's delayed the project. It's definitely not delayed on the part of the developer. They really want to come in there and then start building. But it was a former owner or a person who claimed to own a unit in there sued the owner, and going through the court process has delayed the actual demolition itself.
All right, thank you. This brings up actually an interesting, you know, topic and conversations. We may find ourselves as a town of Surfside with two development projects happening across the street from each other. We have the big one, you know, the property here on the west side of Collins from 93rd to 94th, and then possibly something adjacent to the community center, which would be across the street. Obviously, the impacts, lane closures. Mr. Manager, if I can just ask you maybe to speak on that a little bit. I know we've had these conversations quite some time ago, but maybe what are, you know, especially with that project in particular taking place right next door to the community center, right next door to Condo, what are some of the things the town is doing to mitigate the effects on the residents as they enjoy or try to enjoy the pools with their kids? And what are we doing, you know, to ensure that if we have two construction sites right across the street from each other, we don't end up with a total blockade or chaos here in Surfside?
Yes, Mayor. I'll speak to that a little bit, and I'll hand it off to Jim. You know, obviously they're going to have to build a building. They're going to need some off-site deliveries. Only one lane closure will be authorized. So one of the properties will use up one of the lanes, 2 lanes will be open, but the other site has perimeter alternative streets. So we're synchronizing both site plans so that they minimize the impacts on Collins Avenue. As part of the development order provided by 93 Ocean, there's various proffers that they need to contribute to the town as far as additional funds for community center maintenance in the event that we need to for whatever reason. But the more crucial physical aspects are that they are to build a 16-foot wall on the southern side of 93 Ocean, which is to act both as a noise barrier as well as a sediment control, erosion control type barrier as well. So that way, as you're enjoying the pool, you don't have to have a nuisance, the visibility of that construction site with that high enough wall. So we're hoping that to mitigate that moving forward. We feel we have a really good development team. We've seen what their history is in Miami Beach and how they're really community oriented. They do one property at a time. So I feel that will help in maintaining their activity and urgency specific to Surfside rather than being spread thin. They've been really responsive to date in accommodating certain requests. So I don't foresee it to be a big of a nuisance issue, at least for the quality of life of residents, even though obviously they will have some impact because it is construction. I hope that answers the question. Jim, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, in 2022, sorry, we adopted the construction site safety ordinance, which spells out particular strong rules that protect neighboring properties from any adverse impact by new development. And that includes vibration, trucks leaving, carrying dust, any offsite drift of dust, or any just demo materials. It's a very comprehensive ordinance. In fact, it's being used as a model ordinance for all of Miami-Dade County. I shared it with my other building officials, and they loved it so much that they're really going to make it county-wide, our construction sites ordinance, with, of course, with some more generic specifications. But the key thing, that's a very important public facility. It's one of the most beautiful public facilities in the state of Florida, in my opinion. I'm a regular user and a regular swimmer there, as my teammates here know, and it's very, very important that we protect the waters from any pollution or any adverse dust, and we will assure that that does not occur, and we have the tools to do so.
Mayor, you'll notice, and to the speakers, you'll notice that something different we're doing in our development orders now is, as a developer, you have to be conscious of your surroundings. There's a lot of older development orders that have been approved that are not so conscious of the surroundings as far as your neighbors and incorporating them as a stakeholder. Obviously, this was a good step with 93 Ocean. We are a neighbor as a community center, but so is Marbella. So that is an extra feature that we've been incorporating development orders in that. Done so much in the past, which is, what are you going to do for your neighbor so that your neighbor's experience is just a little bit better when you build, or pardon our dust, if you will.
One of the mayor's comments, though, it was about Collins Avenue and the lane closures there. People should understand that because Collins is a state road, any lane closures have to get permitted through the Florida Department of Transportation, who the town works with as a partner. You know, the idea of having two lanes on Collins closed at the same time is you know, terrifying.
DOT would not approve it, yeah.
And you know, FDOT likes to say, and is true, that their goal is to keep Florida moving. They would not, in my opinion, permit to have two lanes closed at the same time. They would make the developers work something out where they could come up with a plan.
I want to add to that because it's a really good point. If Judith said, which is really important, DOT is the primary on Collins and Harding, which is where our condominiums are at. Most likely, if there's work being done at night, it's because there's two lanes being closed. Because DOT's standard and policy is that the moment you're closing more than one lane and impacting the majority of the accessible vehicular roads during any given point, so if you have 3 lanes and you're closing 2 and only 1 is available for travel, then it's automatically kicked into a nighttime job. So a lot of projects that involve crossing the street, for that reason, are nighttime jobs. So if you see work being done at night, it's probably because we're crossing the street. More linear projects in line of the street, as working north to south, are done within 1 lane and therefore can be afforded at daytime closure. So 2 lane closures, regardless if it's because of one construction or the other, and however they're done, the moment you have 2 lane closures on Collins, simultaneously, it automatically triggers a nighttime job. That is why sometimes you see that nighttime work. The town tries to get inside and involved with coordinating with DOT, letting them know how to mitigate it somewhat. But ultimately, it is your state road, and we just do our best to try and mitigate the situation a little bit.
All right. Thank you, Hector. Mr. Jerry Freund, board.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for arranging this panel. Hi, Jim. I'm wondering, I believe it was a few weeks ago that you guys sent out on the not requiring a permit for certain renovations in an apartment. I don't think it was very clear, the information. If you guys can elaborate on it, what is required now for a permit for renovations and what is not?
All right, I think you're referring to like the straight change outs. We sent out something about straight change outs, right? Additionally, certain renovation that was for, I think it was 500 or less, or certain square footage for the roof. So I'll let Mr. McGinnis, if you don't mind clarifying which parts, is there anything specific to the residential area?
Yep.
Does it apply to the condos? I know, again, the condo boards have their own, regulations too. They may require you to come and go get a permit if you want to change your sink out, or even change your kitchen counter, which, is something the town of Surfside wouldn't do, but there is that thing to navigate. But again, for clarification, Mr. McGinnis, if you don't mind.
Yes. Great. Jerry, are you referring to a single family home or condominium?
In the condominium, I'll give you a specific example. For example, when I changed my kitchen, when I came in 2 years ago, they required me, even though I did nothing, I just moved old kitchen cabinets to new ones. I didn't change any plumbing, nothing. So something as a reference to that. Are we required now to have permits for that? And the same question is for vanities when you change in a bathroom.
Yes, the situation with a condominium, it's not a single family, so it's quite different. It's actually a multi-family building, and it falls under Florida building code versus the Florida residential code because it's considered commercial. And what's important is that we have the HOAs or the management company or the board president's authorization to perform work inside that building. And what happens is that as a result, you're required to hire a contractor to do the work. A straight change out of a toilet, same place, same location, does not really need a permit. However, it does need acknowledgement by the condominium association to do so. And that's what we need to monitor. So the only way to really monitor that is to require a very, very small $80 permit to do that. Now, if you're doing other types of reconfiguration, wiring, outlets, tearing down interior partitions, reconfiguring interior space, of course, you're going to need a regular full-blown contractor and all the trades as well. So condominiums, generally, you need a permit to do most things in a condominium. Residential, we've changed it out. Now, however, when your AC goes out on a Friday night in a condominium, we allow your contractor, mechanical contractor, to fax in a permit application on a straight change out. Now, that's not part of your remodel. You just have a straight on a system failure. You're not changing it, location, size, or anything like that. And to go ahead and perform the emergency work and then come down and get the permit on Monday morning. As well, we also have straight change out rules for both condominiums and homes, which allows them to fax in the application, come in and get the permit. Soon it'll be online, and come in and walk out with the permit right there and just do the work. So we're working really closely with contractors to make sure there's no downtime with air conditioning air. And we have some significant challenges right now on the commercial side for hotels, but for your singular condo, we're making straight change outs real easy for you.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the information.
Welcome.
And thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we're trying to streamline things here. But again, a lot of the condos have different regulations, it seems, they're under different building codes than the residential home. So, but we're going to continue to try to focus on that. Mr. Moshe Schneider.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for arranging this and for all the amazing work you're doing. I just want to bring up again something that's really to press FDOT. There's only one pedestrian light that I know of in Surfside that doesn't automatically change to green and then count down numbers, and that's the light on Collins and 94th Street. So that if you approach it and no one's been there to press the light, to press the button, you don't know if you have 2 seconds to go or 30 seconds to go. So it's just a dangerous situation. So that really should be changed to automatically go to green and count down, whether you press the button or not.
Well, I
That's
think
it.
the question is also like unique to our community because we have a very, Orthodox community. So we have a lot of Sabbath observers that can't be pressing the button on Saturday. So it seems that this is one of the corners that if you don't press it, you don't get it essentially. I don't know if it's a standard with FDOT. I'm sure our manager can reach out.
2 years into the job, this was a project. So for me, it's 5 years ago now. So we should revisit it. We requested FDOT to, one of my big tasks was request FDOT to, on certain days, automatically loop in a pedestrian loop during certain times. So you could accommodate this type of, so you could accommodate. 5 years later, reprogramming occurs. Can I revisit this with FDOT and get you an update? Obviously, it's something that was implemented, and I wouldn't be surprised if something was resetted somewhere. But yes, it's a really good point. So we'll revisit this. I'll have a conversation with FDOT regarding the matter.
Thank you
All right,
very
we
much.
also- Thank you, Asha. We also had a similar situation. I think it was Byron in '96 because people crossed over the synagogue there and were having issues. So I know it's come up before, but we really got to press FDOT to guys, fix that. Moreni Star. All right, Moreni.
Now listening again.
There we go.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
Moreni.
hi. How are you, Mr. Major?
Good. How are you?
Good,
Thanks for-
thank you. I'm gonna let my husband talk to you a little bit.
I guess you can hear me this time without echoing.
Escalate.
We live at 9156, along with a couple of the other speakers tonight. And when a parking garage is entered on Collins Avenue, to turn from 91st onto Collins, often is taking your life in your hands, especially with the orange construction barriers put up there now. You have to have your car about halfway out into the lane before you can even see if someone's coming or not. And often they are, and they're coming very quickly. So I don't know whether there's any possibility of putting a light there. It's also directly across the street from the entrance to the Four Seasons. So a lot of times you've got the big black SUVs speeding in the other direction to get into the parking garage on 91st. So you're dealing with traffic kind of you got to look two ways at the same time. Anyway, it's dangerous, and it would be nice if something could be done.
Mayor, I have some background on this one. We did a traffic study, a warrant study on 91st and Collins to see if we could qualify a pedestrian or full intersection. The study came back that indeed there was a warrant there where it does justify the criteria for DOT to install it. Nonetheless, DOT, and this is all administratively, that's why I'm asking you, because maybe you might want to have a conversation on more on a political level. DOT made a call not to do anything there further because from 90th to 92nd, there's already two intersections and a pedestrian crosswalk and a few additional traffic signal there of whatever sorts will impact the mobility in such a short strip. That means four types of signals in 2 blocks. Can we revisit this with DOT and just have a conversation of them? I think at minimum, the buffer areas along Collins Avenue need to be a little bit wider so that the visibility and the line of sight can be absorbed from a longer distance. But I think this is a conversation worth having because we do have the studies. Moreni, I do have the studies if you wish to see them. That's something if you request me, I can share with you directly. The study was done 2 years ago.
Thank you.
2 years ago by now. Yeah.
I think part of the concern was also some of the barriers that may be placed temporarily because the construction is blocking the visibility. And I know I had a similar issue on Harding, and I called into the city and they just kind of moved it over because I couldn't see, oncoming traffic. But I thought it was my understanding that there was going to be a pedestrian crosswalk there on 91st.
It was warranted, it was justified, but DOT made a call not to do it because of what they feel the impacts would be with having one between 90th and 91st between 91st and 92nd, along with the light at 93rd and 90th. They didn't want so much impediments to the mobility in such a short period. That was their justification. There's a whole thread of emails back and forth pushing for that. It became, I think that's something that has to come from a political standpoint at this.
All right, that's definitely something I'll pursue. I mean, we have, you know, an entire garage there. We have 3 residencies. We have a market hall going there. It's definitely changed around a lot, and I'll continue to pursue that closure. I know we pushed very hard to do a 90th Street pedestrian crosswalk on 89th over there. And this will just be one of the other projects that we kind of try to push through FDOT. So
on a good note, DOT gave us 4 crosswalks. They're being designed now there, and they impact the condos directly. We're going to have crosswalks at 89th and Collins and Harding, at 90th at Harding. It just helps create that mobility between the residential and condos if there is some kind of visits. So, and then 96 and Harding. So they are pushing forward to 4 crosswalks. I think perhaps that was evaluated in the entire picture. It became political in the sense that I think we need to have a discussion on how to move forward with that.
all right, I appreciate it. Dax, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Thanks so much for organizing this as well. We've been seasonal residents in the Champlain North since the 80s and have seen the town, grow and evolve, and it's been really great. To the point of the last speaker, you'd mentioned the market hall at 91st and Collins, and I remember seeing the signage for the permitting way back, but I haven't seen or heard anything since. I was wondering if either Judith or Hector maybe could speak to when that's going to come about, and if that's going to be a mixed use development or, open to public, or what exactly it entails.
So, do you want me to take that, Hector?
Please.
So, the market hall, and this is a technical zoning code thing. It's an accessory use to the hotel. So the Four Seasons is a hotel, and as a hotel, they're permitted to have stores and restaurants enclosed within their facility. So that's what the market hall will be for the Four Seasons. It's not a standalone entity. So the plan is, and this was approved by Planning and Zoning Board and the Town Commission, is to have on the first level kind of like luxury, I don't want to say grocery, but like luxury food goods, I'm imagining fancy cheeses and things like that. And also space for eating. So they could potentially, they don't have as far as I know, a vendor yet for that, but like sandwiches or pastries or something like that in a seating area. And that's part of the ground floor of that project. And then they're going to have some back of house offices for their staff and their administration for the Four Seasons operations. And then some space that can be used by either residents or hotel guests. But the actual market hall feature with the little store and the cafe style seating will be open to the public. That's their plan. We have not seen any permit applications yet for that project. What I expect, though, it's going to be developed by the same people who did the Four Seasons and is currently working on the Surf House, which is at 8995 Collins. So right now they demolished there and they're using what will be the market hall site as their staging. Right now there's construction trailers there for some of the work being done elsewhere. So my expectation is that they're going to finish some of the other work before they start on market hall. But I can't give you a timeline of when that exactly is going to be because they haven't begun the permitting process yet for that.
And Judith, would the market hall go up 3 stories as the max permitted on that side or that structure? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One, I guess an accessory point to what we're talking about and to all the projects, and maybe I'm, I visit the website often and maybe I'm blind and I don't see it, but would it help to have like a consolidated kind of place on the Surfside site where there are, I guess, regular updates for all of the development projects, all the capital projects, you know, such as the undergrounding, the park, you know, where residents can go and kind of quickly see the latest news or renderings or things like this?
So that's a conversation that we've had internally. There used to be a spot on the website for what was a complicated spreadsheet essentially. And it's not there under the planning page anymore. But we've talked about doing something like that for the private developments specifically, to give people just a brief, they've been approved by the town commission or they're still being reviewed, and this is we expect that kind of a general timeline. We have talked about it internally. It's a good idea because we do get questions, especially from neighboring residents, who just want to know to be able to know what to expect. I believe there is a spot for capital improvements already on the website.
Yeah, so we already have a page for capital improvements. There's a map. It shows all the different projects, town-related projects happening in Surfside. But yeah, we don't have anything for the private development. It's also difficult. I mean, we'll get a plan to be approved. I believe Market Hall was approved good couple of years ago, way before my time. There was an amendment to the project that came back before us about something they were changing about the parking, I think it was. But again, we don't know when it's going to start. 93 Ocean, we approved almost by the beginning of my term, and here we are, and nothing's happened. So, not all of the information is we're aware of because it's a private property, and like the town planner said, we don't always know their timeline until they actually come forward with permitting and things like that. And then they're stuck to a timeline as well with the permit. What we've seen with the property across the street from us when it was owned by the previous developer, they had taken out permits and bits and pieces, but no movement had happened to the project. So it sat there for many years empty. But we're not always privy to, I think, the inner workings of that project. But definitely if we can, if we have a central place to show these projects, it'd be great. Residents can see, hopefully it helps us plan, mitigation for these upcoming projects. So that's a good thing. Just to clarify what the town planner said, it's the Market Hall is not considered a mixed use. It's an ancillary use to the hotel, open to the public. However, because it's not mixed use, the entrances, or I guess the public access to these to the stores, is not street based. So you would have to go into the building and then access it from inside the building, similar to if you go to the Four Seasons, to the bar, to the restaurants, something like that. But I believe it is open to the residents and will hopefully, improve the quality of life for everyone else here.
Great. Looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone.
The capital improvements project on the website, if you go to the town's website, you go to departments and services, and then you scroll down to capital improvement projects, and there's a listing there.
I'll share it on the website, Judith. I think it's a very interactive GIS. We haven't pushed it as hard, but we did create that platform. I'll share it here in the chat.
All right, I think I just shut someone down by mistake. Daxtra spoke, correct?
Yeah.
So I guess we're going around again. Mila de Cespedes. I'm sorry for the pronunciation.
All right. So that's my daughter's name. My name is David, and I have a question regarding the Market Hall project that you just spoke about. Thank you for taking my call. So the Four Seasons has a parking garage, and they were allowed to go up 40 feet on Harding, directly across the street from where the Market Hall project will be. Will the Market Hall also be able to go up 40 feet on Harding?
So I actually had that same question about the garage because it seemed kind of high for, Harding Avenue. And what I saw, and I'll let the town planner get to that, is, our zoning, 91st Street. Remember when Surfside started, we were just a corridor from Indian Creek to the Surf Club. 91st Street, if you look at the old photos, we have some of them hanging in Town Hall. Was Surfside started very sporadic around 91st Street, and some of the shopping district then turned, eventually evolved into a town. So 91st Street was always considered a main thoroughfare. And then it has, I guess, a little bit of different zoning. There's, multifamily over here on one side, and I believe they're a little taller, but I'll turn it over to our town planner to address that.
So the mayor's correct, right there on 91st, that block between Collins and Harding, all of it is H40, so that has that 40-foot restriction, whereas most of the other properties on the east side of Harding are H30, so they would have a 30-foot height restriction. But on 91st Street, for that, the reason that the mayor stated is 40 feet. So yes, the Market Hall will be a 40-foot building.
So there's gonna be a single family home and then right up next to it within a few yards, a 40-foot structure, just like it is in the parking garage. Okay, my other question is there's 9 balconies and that single family home that I mentioned that are directly abutting the Market Hall lot. What are those residents going to be dealing with now that the hotel has been able to encroach into what was, you know, before tennis courts and, you know, a much more different project than what's going to be there? Do you know what those 10 residents are going to have to deal with?
Sorry, you can take it on if you want.
No, so what I was gonna say is a couple things. When the project went to Planning and Zoning Board and the Town Commission, through its multiple iterations, we have a requirement of notification for neighboring properties. So the developer, the applicant for the project has to notify everybody 300 feet from the project. So all of those residents had an opportunity to come and to voice their concerns. That said, the project does have setback requirements. There's a and I don't have the project in front of me. And if you're interested, I can send you the plans. They are available through our website, but it's a little tricky to find them. But I can send them to you directly if you want to call the town and ask for the town planner. I can get them to you. There is a setback there, so the building doesn't come all the way to the property line on the north side, and they will be required to put in a wall or a fence dividing the properties. And during construction, I know Mr. McGinnis will be sure that they abide by all of the rules in the construction site ordinance to minimize as much as humanly possible the debris and things from the construction project.
That's correct.
Thank you, Judith. I mean, look, it's difficult, especially if you were living in that building and at one point you just overlooked the tennis center. But similar to the Marbella, which is next to the 93 Ocean, which has always been 2 stories, but it's important to understand the zoning existed long before us. It's been, you know, part of the town's comprehensive plan. It's been there. The people that purchased there knew what they were living next to. You know, the buildings that go up there know what they're going next to. If I purchase a home in the residential area next to an empty lot, it's not going to stay an empty lot. At some point, somebody's going to build a house. So it's unfortunate that somebody who's, you know, had one kind of view for quite some time, and then development does have effect on their neighbors. But it's nothing that, again, it's nothing that has changed. This has been in our zoning code. It's been allowed since the inception of our comprehensive plan. And you know what, when you purchase a condo, you need to understand the risks that happens if you're living next to an older unit or an older building that, you know, at some point may sell and be redeveloped. And but as long as, again, we're focusing on the safety aspect, our setbacks, we want to create that light and air as best as we can, but we are living in an environment with residential people. These are buildings, there's houses here. You know, you're going to have a neighbor at some point. All right, let me open it up to Mila again. Or no, you just spoke. Sorry, Sergio Clavillo.
Hello, Mayor.
Hey, how are you, Sergio?
Good, thank you. First of all, thanks for this great conversation that we're having. It's very needed, and appreciate you taking the time to make it available. Also, I wanted to thank you for the work of Carmen Santos with your code enforcement group. I know that I reached out to you better than a year and a half ago, and the project that we at 9156 have been considering for a while. It's almost ready to go, I think. We're very close to getting agreement from everybody on this concrete restoration project. And so I just wanted to thank you for that support. It was also good to meet you in person the other day during the voting. You have a lot of participants here from 9156, so it's really good to see the interest that all our folks have. But I wanted to mention, I remember that a couple of things. First of all, Bob Benchley and Marani pointed out to the issue of the danger situation at 91st when you're making a left turn at Collins. And I just want to follow up on that and tell you that I remember years ago when the project for the Four Seasons was presented to the community, it was just a plan at the time. I attended a presentation from the builders and they commented at that time that there would be a light that would be placed there because they even at that time they considered that would be a very dangerous situation, and so it has developed into that, and so I would encourage the town to make every effort to revisit with DOT as to the real need for a light or some kind of traffic abatement or help, because really I've seen a number of situations where people all you hear are brakes, because people are just either trying to butt in or they get tired of waiting for somebody and what have you. So I just want to support that idea so that maybe FDOT can get take a second look. Now, also, I remember when my son is 50 years old, but I remember when he was a very young kid, he used to tell me how he dreaded to go either on Collins or Harding in Surfside because he had to go very slow and he wanted to just speed through. And that was because there was a really strong police presence at that time. And this is years ago. And I think, again, like your first caller, I think police presence and maybe some friendly reminders about speeding and what have you on both Collins and Harding in Surfside would be really a welcome relief. So I guess that's about all I have to say. Again, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity and encourage you to keep it up.
Thank you, Sergio. I guess just to respond to the first part, yes, the Four Seasons did have a light in their plan, but as the manager said, unfortunately, it was declined by FDOT. It is something that we will pursue. I think, unfortunately, in order to pursue and to get approval, you really have to do a study again of the need. And that may mean we may have to wait until, the market hall goes up and then we're doing a full study of the cars in and out of market hall, cars in and out of the parking lot from the Four Seasons across the street that may warrant it and give us a stronger case moving forward. Again, I'll continue to push on my end up from our state officials to try to, push for that. I had one of my first meetings with our senator. I brought him down to 90th Street and I asked him to cross westwards. And he looked across and he said, I can't see the cars. I said, exactly. That's why we have something, in the queue. It's never been approved. You see it for yourself, the danger it represents to the residents. So it got approved, almost immediately. And now we're just waiting for the funding on that, which I think we've had some forward momentum over the last couple of weeks. I saw an email come in. But it takes time to get done. And hopefully we don't have to wait for a full study once the construction is done to really show that need. And it's something that I'm going to continue to push for. In regards to the speeding, I think we covered a little bit of it with our police chief at the last, Q&A regarding security specifically. We're a small town with a small police department. Our has grown. We're obviously dealing with a lot more things than we were back in the day, a lot more different cases. But I can tell you our chief has worked in MOU with Bay Harbor and Bal Harbor. And what that does, it allows us to use each other's resources to try to address speeding specifically. And they have this program where a couple of times a month, some of our officers go there, they come here, and we share our officers to try to mitigate, the speeding throughout town. Unfortunately, again, we see the calls that come in, we see the police reports that they're unfortunately busy with a lot of different things in town. So they can't maintain a constant presence on Collins Avenue or Harding, but they do try as best they can. They're out there. I see them very often, especially down where I am, because the street kind of turns and it's a good hiding spot. I see them now a lot by 88th Street, where I used to see them a few years ago. So, it's nice to see them out there, but we'll definitely continue to focus on that. But thank you. We're gonna do the last caller, Marini Star, and then we're gonna let the staff go home. And thank you guys again for doing this.
Major, it's me again. I just had a thought. Why can't they just take the light from 90th, which I don't see much traffic, and on 91st, because I see a heavy traffic on that 91st Street across from the surf club. Huh? Is that possible? Or no?
Mayor, if I
Yes,
may.
please. It was directed to you, so please,
90th Collins, I'm sure there's justified safety reasons of why there's an intersection at 90th and Collins. I don't know if the answer is a trade-off of one for another. We can always ask the department, the agency, to evaluate. By that I mean the state. But odds are 90th and Collins is there for a safety reason, which is it's there to operate a full intersection, a three-way intersection. So logically it may not make sense, but I think from a safety standpoint, it's there for a reason. I wouldn't want to justify a new one by a trade-off. I think we just push forward with trying to push the 91st and Collins.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I wouldn't want to take away safety from one from the other. 90th over there, the road does turn as you come up, so it's difficult to see there as well. But unfortunately, if we, again, we'll keep pushing, but if we push the same issue without any change, we're very likely to get the same result, and they did their study, the Four Seasons did their study initially, and FDOT made that determination that they don't need one. It doesn't warrant light there. Again, we feel, since the parking lot went up, especially if Market Hall, comes to pass and they start building something there, there's going to be a lot more traffic going in and out of that street. We definitely do a study again to, we should most definitely warrant a light at that corner, given, it used to just be a tennis center. Nobody was really there. But again, I'm going to continue to work my angle as far as politically. But even moving forward, once we see more development there, will for sure warrant a new study, and hopefully we'll see a light, and it'll make our town safer, which has always been our objective here. With that, look, I know there's still a lot of questions, but with that, I do want to let staff go home. So again, I want to really thank you, Hector, Judith, Jim, for being on here tonight. And I want to thank all the residents who participated, and great questions. There were some questions that I've got while I was going, through town that didn't get addressed, but hopefully we can do this again. And then, answer some more of the questions as far as building. There were some issues as far as pools, seawalls, for the buildings, if they were included in some of the certification, and it really depends building to building. I had this conversation with our planner. So again, if you have questions, I encourage you to reach out to our officials. We got some great people here, as you can see. Reach out to them. They're here to help. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining. So everybody have a great night. And thank you for being a part of this. Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Great night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Bye.